Hi there. If you have stumbled on this link and wondered why there's some guy sitting in an REO Speedwagon t-shirt with comic books and autographed concert stuff behind him, my name is Matt Wintz, and you have stumbled on the corner of my universe of me reading a book. For those of you who clicked the link because you know me, thank you and hi, everybody. To give you some background, I wrote a high school memoir for no other reason, well, multiple reasons of nostalgia. I like to write. I love these people. And I found a litany of things from high school that was like time travel. And I started the book in like spring of 2022 and finished it by the end of that year. But now it is currently in an area that I call editing and slightly out of my hands. And so before I publish it, I had a chance to give it to some people. They test read it, and I was asked if I ever had plans to like record it, like an audiobook. And I said, well, yeah. But then a couple of people who read it, who knew me from back in the days of lockers and hormones, asked if I would do it on video because this way they could get apparently the full like me experience of hand gestures and facial tics and all of that. And so I said, what the hell? So that's why I'm here. Um, the idea was at its core to write a bit of a love story to people who I cared about. And that's what I hope this is. The book itself includes some like supplemental material, photos and stuff like that. Now, my editing skills are a little from they used to be, and so if I can, I'll superimpose maybe a couple of photos, like here in this abyss, or here, or like if all else fails, just all over me for a minute. Um, the other thing that you will notice is in the description of when I do this video and if and when I do more, there will probably be a link to a song, and that is because they have to do with the book. Um, More on that in a little bit with what I'm about to read. Um, to give you also a little bit of a warning, I'm a big fan of curse words, and some of them may or may not have found themselves in this book. So keep that in mind. It is not my intent to uh, try and offend anyone, but it may happen. And the other kind of statement here is in order to make this flow, there is dialogue involved. And this is coming from a multitude of areas being journal entries, memory, and a device to push the writing forward. I wasn't recording secretly conversations I had with anybody, but I was trying to make sure that I got it right to how I remembered things. And that's the thing. This is written from everything that I knew or experienced or interpreted. So I am understanding that this is going to be a wildly different thing than maybe some people who knew me or experienced me happened. Um, and that would make for a fun conversation or follow up. So anyway, my plan today is to read the first like two general sections of the book before we get into the story at large that begins my freshman year. Um, and in order to do that, the first part of what I want to do is the dedication. The book is dedicated to my girls who asked for daddy stories of when I was younger. It's to my parents and my sister who had to deal with my teenageness. It is for REO Speedwagon, who truly could have been the entire soundtrack to this book because their music meant so much to me and got me through so much, and because I see music as the great communicator. And it's for all the friends included in this book and beyond, whom I truly love, always. I have thanks to dole out. A special thanks to Diana, who was my editor, to Brianna, who is a friend of mine who had to listen to me read this book to kind of figure out what sounded okay. Um, three people for sure: Kate, Xandar, and Blaine for giving me more photos than I thought I had. To Mary Ann for sharing videos she had of some wonderfully high school aged kids. And then the small army of test readers who read the book while I was just trying to plug away at it. Um, and before I get started, I have to tell you, the title of this book is called Teen Angst. That fucker. And to get us started, I have a couple of quotes. We write to taste life twice, once in the moment and in retrospect. Aeneas Nin. We sing to discover who we are, yet in the process, we learn who we are ultimately singing to. Jonathan Cain, the keyboardist for Journey. Very little comment here, save for this small aside, that the ties of flesh are deep and strong, that the capacity to love is a vital, rich, and all-consuming function of the human animal, and that you can find nobility and sacrifice and love wherever you may seek it out, down the block, in the heart, or in the Twilight Zone. It's Rod Serling from the Twilight Zone episode and Praise of Pip. Finally. And I meant every word I said. When I said that I love you, I meant that I love you forever. Kevin Cronin of REO Speedwagon and their song Keep On Loving You. Now the foreword, titled Turned on some music to start my day. I lost myself in a familiar song. Before the book gets started, a bit of an upfront information on how I, as the writer, went about writing this book. In its initial stage, this was going to be a series of chapters about people who were very important and influential to me in high school, with adventures and asides, stories, jokes, and just feelings being written out. Above everything, I wanted this to be a love letter from me to them. However, this quickly changed into what you are getting to read or embark or listen to now. A chronological, as best as I could put it, retelling of my adventures in high school. There's a very important part to that, and that's music. I find myself at my absolute best when singing or listening to music. I have loved music in most, if not all, of its forms for as long as I can remember. I learned to sing thanks to the theme song of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and when I went to bed, my parents would turn on the radio and pop songs of the late 1980s were my lullabies. I would create other things around music, stories, characters, and why it is important to also what you are about to experience. I am self-conscious about myself and everything about me, unless I'm singing. I can sing something happy, sad, love, rock, pop, whatever it might be. I always feel comfortable when I do it. It's not the way everyone communicates, but it's what I latch onto. People in my life get songs, theme music to me. I'll never forget something, or even more importantly, someone, if music is involved in that memory. That's not to say I claim a song and the song is theirs and no one else can ever use it. It's what reminds me of them. The flip side is also true. If someone says a song reminds them of me, I instinctively latch onto it. How they see me, or are reminded. Some of the best compliments I've ever received, and I am not kidding, is that when people hear REO Speedwagon, they think of me. If they played it or sang it to me, a song that they loved me to sing or made them think of me, I latch onto it and I never let it go. In my life, music has inspired me, injured me, damned me, and redeemed me. It is, to me, the great communicator, and it is instrumental, ha ha ha, to this book, my story. When writing this book, each little mini section is titled by lyrics from a song. I curated a playlist for you, the reader or listener, to enjoy or listen to while reading the book or just for fun. It could be that the lyrics just hit me while I was writing or planning the book, or are directly tied to a person or memory of the chapter, or it just made me happy or sad or determined. For those of you who want to fully immerse yourself, there's a Spotify playlist titled Teen Angst, the playlist that I created. Alongside what you're about to read, it's further a little bit more of a piece of who I am, happy to share. I hope you like it because it's my honest gift to you. To thank you for your time and your interest in the story, for giving me a listen or a read. Prelude, the king of wishful thinking. Let's be clear. The Matt Wentz I was in high school was a lot of things. I did not feel like someone who stuck out. I always felt overshadowed by the outgoing nature of the best friend I made sophomore year, or others that I would come across who would just have this amazing presence. While surrounded by wonderful female friends, I certainly felt like I was punching above my weight class when it came to dating or even thinking about it. I had, and still do have, a self deprecating sense of humor. I thought of myself as a lovable loser. I saw myself as someone who could appreciate and relate to being an underdog. I was a nerd, a wannabe hero, petty, creative, naive, selfish, obsessive, a choir guy, a writer, a friend, a brother, a preacher's kid times two, stuck in a relationship with the music and movies and nostalgia of the 1980s, and an absolute hopeless romantic. Sure. That might just be everyone having their own personality quirks while they grow up, but still, when trying to write a bit of a memoir of a time that I think a lot of people can relate to and cringe at, there's also a bit of self reflecting. So, with that comes the first of probably many that should come to anyone who reads this and remembers that asshole, weird, dorky me. I'm sorry about that. I've seen it online, and I'll paraphrase. If you knew me in high school, that was a lot of season one, season two of what would be my life show. There's a lot of growing pains while trying to gain my footing. And while I always wanted to be a good person, a friend, someone supportive, sometimes I wasn't. I'd come up short or be weird or hurtful. The hope is that a lot have changed with growth and experience. And sure, looking back now with a bit of nostalgia can also gloss some things over. That's also gets to why I started writing this in the first place. There was an absolute shit ton of cool stuff back then. I think it's easy to look back at high school and think, oh, if I'd only known then what I know now, or other warm, fuzzy feelings. I think I was privileged to be around people who understood we were creating memories there. Sure, we were having a good time and living our day to day, the drama, the depression, the love, the adventures, but the fact is, I knew how important then it would be later. I've always been a writer, and in high school, I wrote in multiple journals about my day to day. I collected notes and letters and kept a record. I knew then I wanted to remember it. And while some of it magnified or even diminished in time, that's that experience and growing and innocence leaving, but I still knew it was important. And as with many things, there's always the what ifs that creep into our brain. What if a friend didn't move? What if some of your friends who graduated before you had more time with? What if you dated this person instead of that one? What if cell phones and social media existed, either in whole or as advanced as they are now? I was in high school from 1998 to 2002. Just meant I was on the cusp of that. The memories are all captured in photos that I had to have developed, but the friendships remain because of social media availability and being able to save those photos digitally. I also know this is personal in that I wrote knowing I would need to be okay with becoming more vulnerable to how this would be received. The friends involved have different memories and thoughts, and what was important to me then could have not even been on their radar, or vice versa. What I still hold on to as a core memory could be long forgotten by them. Maybe I'm forgotten by them. And that's life and years, and in the end, understandable. The angst is gone. Some of the fights were over weird things we could laugh at now and do, about why they were so dramatic and important then. But those friendships, many of which, and spoiler alert, are still there even through the years, those were definitely important. And why writing this was all about telling them, you, how much I loved every bit of it, and you. And while there will always be some cringy stuff, or as the perfect thing to call it is the title of this writing, Teen Angst, there's no way that the things then, the people there, didn't lead me to who I am today. I may not have made good decisions at times, but I sure made a hell of a lot of memorable ones. High school can be a lot like a relationship, which is why when writing, it felt like digging up this song just felt right. Because this felt like a definition of myself in high school, trying to get through the fact I nearly always led with my heart over my head, which could set me up for some hurt sometimes. I'll get over you, I know I will. I'll pretend my ship's not sinking, and I'll tell myself I'm over you, 'cause I'm the king of wishful thinking. King of Wishful Thinking by Go West. And that is the prelude to the book. You've made it a few pages in, and this is the lead in and your secondary tease of my freshman year, currently titled Love Handles and a Sailor Hat. Anyway, thanks for listening. Maybe another one will come soon. Until then, listen to some music and keep on rolling.